それともう一つ、先輩に会う時第一印象はとっつきにくそうに感じると思うけど、名前を呼ぶ時は先輩をつけてファルザン先輩って呼んだら話しやすくなると思うよ。
はあ？なんじゃと？もう一回言ってくれぬか？年だから耳が遠いのじゃ。
ですからファルザンさん、いい加減答えを出してくれませんか？
ところでお前、先輩をつけることを忘れておらぬか？
もうはっきり聞こえてるんじゃないですか。あはん。ファルザン先輩、私だってあなたに難癖をつけるつもりはなかったんです。でもあなたはここ数年何の授業もしていませんし、学生を連れて研究課題に取り組んだこともありません。指導教員としてさすがに良くないんじゃないですか？もう学生たちだけでなく他の先生たちまで文句を言い始めてるんですよ。
ほう？一体誰じゃ？わしに文句があるなら直接わしのところに来いと伝えておくがよい。お前らの時間を無駄にする必要はない。
それは。
言われずとも分かっておる。また知論派の連中じゃろ。ったく、奴らには時間をもっとまともな研究に使ってほしいもんじゃの。
ですがファルザン先輩、ご自身も長い間実際的な学術成果を出していらっしゃいませんよね。
学術成果に実際的も何もあるまい。審査責任者が知識の本質を理解しておらぬだけじゃ。そもそもその指標を指導教員の評価に入れること自体何の意味もないことであろう。一体何代目の賢者が定めた規則なんじゃ。今すぐ手紙を書いて解き伏せてこよう。
ちょっと待ってください。ファルザン先輩、話を最後まで聞いてください。
やっぱりファルザン先輩だ。でも隣にいるのはマハマトラじゃないよな。ファルザン先輩は若いって言われるのが一番嫌いなんだ。先輩は消えた100年間体の成長も止まってたみたいなんだ。だから今は100年前と同じ姿でいる。心の準備もほぼできたし、行こ
う。とにかくアジャンタ彫刻展と妙論派の責任者はみんなファルザン先輩がこの研究課題に参加してくださることを強く願っています。ですから興味がおありかは分かりませんが。ってファルザン先輩、聞いてますか？
これは高齢ではないか。なぜ教令員に？体の方はどうなんじゃ？
よくなったよ、ファルザン先輩。旅人とクラクサナリデビ様のおかげで。
最近はよく眠れておるのか？目の下にクマができておるようじゃが。ティナリのやつはまたお前を夜遅くまで勉強させておったのか？
いや、違うんだ。ただ私の覚えが悪いだけで、師匠とは何の関係もないんだ。
学問を好むのは良いことじゃが、体が一番大事なんじゃからな。後でティナリにきちんと伝えておかねば。それから需要のある食べ物も持ってきてやろう。
いや、大丈夫だ、本当に。
で、お前の隣におるこやつは伝説の旅人か？ほう、お前と仲間たちのことは聞いておるぞ。いつか会ってみたいと常々思っておった。お前のおかげで教令員はやっと少しはまともになってきたの。それにコレイの病気のこともな。
ファルザン先輩、まだアジャンタ彫刻展との共同研究について話してるんですけど。
どうせ妙論派のやつらはこれを機にわしを説得してやつらの学院に引き込もうと狙っておるんじゃろ。これ以上言い立てられても無駄じゃ。 わしは研究方向を変える気なんざさらさらない。
もしどうしても共同研究に参加したくないとおっしゃるのであれば、新しい授業を開いてはいただけませんか？知論派の範疇の授業となると多少開きづらいかもしれませんが、いずれにせよもうこれ以上先延ばしにはできませんから、どうか答えを出してください。授業を開いていただくのも共同研究に参加していただくのも、もう先輩に何とかしてもらうしかないんです。私たちだって意見ある学生や先生たちを説得できません。
あと数日延ばしてくれんか？どうせもう長い間放っておいてきた問題じゃろうが。
ずっと先延ばしにしてきたからこそ困るんですよ。もし今日結論が出なければ、明日にでも賢者のところに訴え出るものが出てくるでしょう。
どうやら本当に暇なやつらのようじゃの。お前たちティナリのことで来たんじゃろ。すまんがこの状況じゃ日を改めてまた行くことになるかもしれぬ。
でも
わしもじっくり考えねば。
どうしよう。ファルザン先輩はまだやることがいっぱいあるみたいだ。師匠は緊急じゃないって口では言ってたけど、私知ってるんだ。師匠はもう何日もガンダルバー村に戻ってなくて、パルディスティアイでずっと何か忙しそうにしてる。ファルザン先輩にはちょっと申し訳ないけど、やっぱりまずは一緒に来てもらうしかない。でもそのせいで教令員から責任を問われて、結局師匠を助ける余裕もなくなったらどうしよう。頭が痛くなってきた。ファルザン先輩にとっても師匠にとってもそれがいいかもしれない。後で私に手伝えることがないか師匠に聞いてみるよ。師匠はきっと君がしっかり勉強して補習の頻度を減らしてくれればそれが一番の助けになるとかって言うだろうけど。それならファルザン先輩も早く問題を解決できるし、師匠に会いに行けるよな。じゃあ私も残って手伝った方が。やっぱりちょっと怖いけど。じゃあ任せた。
妙論派の行為を受けぬなら知論派の生徒に授業をしなければならんと。わしよりも奴らの方がよっぽど嫌がっておるやもしれぬがな。
彼らの気持ちがなんとなくわかる気がします。
ただいま、ファルザン先輩。旅人が残って手伝ってくれるらしいんだ。
ほう、それは願ったりじゃのう。ちょうどアザールを懲らしめた旅人がどんなものか気になっておったところじゃが。迷惑そうか？ならばよい。実は今ちょうどある問題に直面しておっての。知論派で選択科目の授業を開くべきか、それとも妙論派で共同研究に携わることを選ぶべきか。正直どっちも選びとうない。
ご存知かもしれませんが、知論派は言語や符文を研究する学派です。100年前ファルザン先輩は知論派の学者でした。
おいおい、100年前だけでなく今もそうじゃぞ。
はい。ただ今の知論派の学生たちは先輩の研究方向をまるで理解できていないんです。
一言で言えば、現場にあった石碑や出土した文献に基づいて遺跡にある各種仕掛けの構成や解法を解読するというものじゃ。まあ汎用性の高い古典的な仕掛け関連の文献研究なんかも含まれるんじゃが。
研究方法は今の知論派と大した差はないんですけど、内容は遺跡や仕掛け関連のものがほとんどです。仕掛けに詳しくない知論派の学生にとっては実に理解しがたいものばかりです。加えて詳細が明らかになっていない遺跡は年々少なくなってきている上、妙論派の ギミック関連学術も発展したため。
それについては奴らがあまりにも傲慢なんじゃ。古代の仕掛けの危険さや複雑さは奴らの想像をはるかに超えたものじゃぞ。教えてやるが、100年前は全くこのような雰囲気ではなかった。学者は皆様々な領域の知識を探求することに熱心で、未知なる仕掛けにも十分な畏敬を抱いておった。今、主流学科や人気の研究しか見ようとせん奴らが来たとしても、そいつらを相手に授業をする気などさらさらないわ。それに、わしの研究が時代遅れだの現実離れしておるだのを理由に研究費の申請を却下する者までおるんじゃぞ。ったく、奴らにコレイの爪の赤を煎じて飲ませてやりたいもんじゃ。勤勉さや学問に対する探求心、それから死に対する尊敬の念をきちんと学んでもらわんといかんわい。
どうして突然私？
わしの授業を聞いてくれる生徒が皆コレイのようじゃったらよかったのに。そういえばお前の体調はもう回復しておるんじゃろ。ということはずっとガンダルバー村におる必要もないんじゃないのか。
私復習しなければならない文字がまだいっぱい残ってるのを思い出した。先に戻って師匠を探すよ。
つまりわしがコレイのために読み書きの授業を開くということか。
待ってください。ティナリさんはまだ教令員と学術的な交流を続けているとはいえ、もう教令員に属していません。ですからこれ
確かに旅人の言う通りじゃ。これまでの教令員は民を重視しておらんかった。じゃから傲慢な思想が生じてしまったんじゃ。コレイのように勉強熱心なのに何らかの理由で願いが叶わなかった者は他にもスメールに多くおるはずじゃろ。教令員はそういう者たちを無視しておった。今コレイたちのために読み書きの授業を開くという思考は今後より多くの人に恩恵を与えるための一歩じゃ。
それは規則に反していないかどうか、一度戻って意見を聞いてからお返事します。
そんな手間をかけんでもよい。わしがついてってやろう。何か問題があればその場で議論し合ってはっきりさせればよかろう。旅人コレイ、お前らは教令員の外でちと待っていてくれるか。すぐ戻る。
待って、私たちもついていこう。あの人を引きずってっちゃったぞ。そのまま正面突破だなんて。ファルザン先輩、相変わらず。ファルザン先輩の学術水準は師匠も認めるほどなんだ。もし先輩が本当に読み書きを教えてくれるのなら、一人で引きこもって悩むより何倍もいいに決まってる。ただファルザン先輩は時々すごく情熱的で、それは多分私を学生として迎えたがってるんだと思う。さっきの学者も言ってたけど、ファルザン先輩が消えた100年間で教令員はめちゃくちゃ変わったんだ。私も詳しくは知らないけど、知論派の学生はみんな先輩と一緒に研究しても将来性がないって思ってるみたい。ギミック術や幻想応用に興味がある学生はやっぱり妙論派とかソ論派で勉強することを優先的に考えるし、それにファルザン先輩自身も数合わせのためだけに誰でも彼でも受け入れるってことはしたくなかった。だからでも私の学ぶ姿勢を気に入ってくれたみたいで、よく生徒にならないかって声をかけてくれるんだ。実際は覚えが悪いせいで夜遅くまで勉強しないといけないだけなのに。そういうわけじゃないよ。ファルザン先輩は結構個人の選択を尊重してくれるから。特に私が森で療養しないといけないって知ってからはあまり勧誘してこなくなった。 それにたまに美味しいものをガンダルバー村まで持ってきてくれるんだ。そう言われてみれば確かに。でも私ってそんなに幼く見えるか？
これ旅人待たせたな。問題はもうバッチリ解決じゃ。奴らの上司に直談判し、一般向け授業の施行実施の実現性と必要性について論じてきたんじゃ。相手は確か昔の同僚の教え子の教え子だったようじゃが、威圧感は奴らの死よりもずっと劣っておって、少し言葉を交わした程度ですぐ納得してくれたわい。
さすがファルザン先輩。
提出すべき書類の量は1ページも減っておらぬのじゃが、100年経っても教令員の悪い癖が変わっておらんとはの。どれどれ、記入する箇所は授業名、授業の目的、教え方、少々漠然とした概念じゃの。何せこの授業は読み書きを始めたばかりの子供ではなく、すでにある程度の基礎を持っておるものを対象としておる。じゃからより正確に言えば、授業の目的は読み書きを上達させることじゃな。
確かに子供向けの読み書き教材を使ってると、いつももうすでに分かってる部分にたくさん時間が割かれてしまう。
これにはレンジャーの仕事もあることじゃし、これからこの授業を聞きに来る人々もおそらく自分のやらねばな。
実践が一番の勉強だって師匠はいつも言ってる。だから師匠に頼んで分かりやすい本を探してもらって読んでるんだ。
近年のスメールではなかなか本が手に入らぬのじゃが、ティナリのやつ考えおったの。読書量を増やすというのは確かに良い方法じゃ。教令員が書籍の流通を開放した今、読書に興味を持つ者も増えたはず。授業次は教材か。若者が好きそうな本はあまり知らんのじゃが、アンタルの物語なんていうのはちょっと古臭すぎるかのう。コレイは最近どんな本を読んでおる？
私は最近稲妻の娯楽小説を読んでるよ。スメールでちゃんと本を売れるようになってからは、トレジャーストリートで娯楽小説の露店を出す商人も出てきてるらしくて、ちょうど今度行ってみようと思ってるんだ。
娯楽小説、それは初耳じゃのう。知恵の殿堂では授業にふさわしい教材は見つかりそうにないことじゃし、今すぐトレジャーストリートに行って調べてみよう。
待って、ファルザン先輩。100歳超えとは思えない足の速さだな。私たちも急いで追いかけよう。
A long and mildly ungrammatical title. And why is the cover so colorful?
Is this your first time seeing a light novel, ma'am? Oh, they're the most popular of books nowadays. Would you like me to recommend something?
Fine. One shouldn't judge a book by its cover after all. Maybe browse through the books here.
Of course. Why don't you try this one? It's Outlander Brigade, When the Wind of Death Blew Towards the Blonde Samurai.
This book's author describes action in vivid detail. Now I've only skimmed through a few pages, but it feels like it's all fight scenes. There are only subjects and predicates, and the syntax is a tad simple.
Subjects? Predicates?
The protagonist just ends up fighting in every scene with no proper build-up. Will anyone even enjoy a story that's only comprised of fights?
How about... the good thing about being reincarnated as a hilly churl is that I only need to eat Sunsetias to become stronger.
A reincarnation isekai story? Those are pretty popular right now.
Isekai? What in the world is that? Also, why does it become stronger by eating Sensetias? Tropes? Ah, those fictional rules used to push the plot forward, yes? They're definitely effective in achieving a distancing effect.
Sorry. What is this distancing effect?
However, this book doesn't explain how reincarnation correlates to becoming stronger. Such an illogical rule will affect the coherence of the story. Will readers really accept this?
How about this? I had to fight tooth and nail to get this in stock.
Oh, that's the latest volume of Onibudo!
Now that's a rather normal title length. Oh, Kale, do you like this series?
Yes, but I don't like it that much. Madam, are you going to use this series as teaching material?
Let me see. The dialogue flows quite well, but there are too many phrases here that I don't recognize. Third eye of perception, illusory mirror, and so on. Aren't these terms that are tied to tropes?
I also thought those names were strange when I was reading them.
It's impossible to derive the meaning of these phrases in isolation. Also, their morphological properties are quite pedestrian, really. Or did the protagonist purposely create these strange names to disorient their foes? So there's no deeper purpose. It's quite hard to understand stories written these days.
You're right. It's such a weird book. But you keep wanting to read the next page.
Even the most popular book in Sumeru back then had greater depth than anything written today. Yes! A Bahumano researcher wrote it while researching folk legends. The plot had many twists. The world building was fantastic, and even the writing could withstand scrutiny. When it was still being published, many people in the academia were reading it. Even the sages back then all described the story as a timeless classic. The series must have concluded after so many years, right? Perhaps it's even more popular now.
Is there a book like that in Sumeru? I've never heard of such a thing before. What's the title?
It's called Tales of Shariar. Do you sell it here?
Tales of Shariar? I don't think I've heard of that before. When was it published?
About 100 years ago.
100 years ago? Are you pulling my leg? What sort of book can remain popular for 100 years?
The Legend of Antara is popular to this very day, isn't it? I just heard someone telling it a few days ago in a cafe. If an old story like that is still being shared, then Tales of Shariar must be even more popular.
Even if that is the case, I really don't carry that book here in my store.
What? Is that because of the academia's strict control over books in recent years? I can't believe they've allowed the people of Sumeru to become so uncivilized. How can they not know about the Tales of Shariar?
Tales of Shariar? Oh, wait! I think I heard an antique seller on the other end of Treasure Street mention that name before. I mean, it is a book from 100 years ago. Why don't you try asking for it there?
Tales of Shariar is considered an antique now? How could the academia have let such an excellent work of literature be forgotten like this? Traveler, Kale, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Let's meet at the antique sellers.
Madam, wait! Oh no, this is bad. You asked me why I'm scared of Madame Faruzan, right? It's not because I don't know how to respond to her kindness. It's because I'm afraid of that ancient language she researches, because I can barely understand any of it. What if she uses ancient texts as teaching material? Even so, what if researchers from 100 years ago like to use ancient languages in their books? We've got to catch up to her!
Found it! The 5th volume of Tales of Shariar!
Wow, you actually found it!
I never thought this book would ever get sold.
All right, that's our teaching material secured. We also now know what to call this course. Analysis of Classical Texts. After all, this book is definitely worthy of being called a classic.
Can I take a look? Luckily the language being used here isn't ancient at all. I can recognize a few words here and there. Huh? But why aren't there pictures in this book?
As long as the writing is good, readers won't need any illustrations to imagine the scenes. Worry not, I shall thoroughly explain the difficult sections. You'll like this book, I know it. After all this time, I wonder if Aaliyah and Aziz ended up together. And who obtained the Desert Gem in the end? Sir, do you have the subsequent volumes of this series?
I don't think so.
Is that so? And here I thought I could finally read the ending. Never mind, I'll keep searching for the later volumes myself. If I'm to use it as a teaching material, it's better to start earlier in the series. Where are the first 4 volumes? Why aren't they all together?
I don't have those either. Actually, this is the only volume I have.
Is this series really that popular?
No. It's not popular at all. Rather, there's absolutely no demand for it.
No demand? Impossible! Back then, I'd come across at least 3 groups of people talking about it during a single stroll at the Academia.
Seriously? No one told me that this book was anything special when I first got it.
Where did you get this from? Can you still contact the seller?
I'm afraid not. This book was sold together with a whole bunch of antique furniture. I didn't even notice it initially. Otherwise, the Matra would have come knocking. Wait, is this book actually worth a lot? It can't be, right?
That's impossible. No matter how strict the Academia was, there's no way Tales of Shariar could have fallen into such a state.
I do remember a passerby skimming through the book a few days ago. However, he simply sighed and left.
He sighed? Why would he react like that? Given the quality of Tales of Shariar, he should have been entranced after a single glance. I'm sorry. Traveler, Kale, please give me a moment. I'd like to look through this book first. Why is there another misunderstanding between Ali and Aziz? Also, why is there no mention of the Desert Gem at all? And a new character is introduced with no foreshadowing at all? Also, what are all these new names and terms? Is this really the Tales of Shariar I know?
Well, that passerby reacted in much the same way. It's Mada from the cafe over there. You know, the fellow who spends all day telling the legend of Antara. Since that's also a very old story, maybe he knows a thing or two about that, Tales of, whatever it's called.
Then let's go ask around at the cafe. Huh? Madam Faruzan?
Huh? Oh, yes. Let's go.
Hey!
Who in their right mind would have any interest in this?
Another day, another empty room.
Excuse me? But are you Mada?
Yes! Are you here to listen to my story?
Well, we actually came to ask about something else.
I see.
Sorry.
It's fine. I'm used to it, more or less. So, how can this terribly unpopular storyteller help you?
Do you know about Tales of Shariar?
Huh? Tales of Shahryar? Why, I can barely remember the last time anyone talked about it. My master always talked about how incredibly popular that book used to be. However, I tried reciting a few chapters of it at the cafe, and I found that it's even less popular than The Legend of Antara.
Your master?
Yes, the one who taught me how to be a storyteller. He said that Tales of Shahryar was written by his master's master's master. He also said that this great-great-grandmaster was an academia researcher, and that even the sages liked the series. He wrote 4 volumes back then, and the reviews just got better and better. You couldn't find a single person in Sumeru who hadn't read his books.
And then? What happened next? Why doesn't anyone know about Tales of Shahryar now?
Oh, it's hard to tell when it comes to trends. One day everyone likes stories like that, and the next day their tastes change completely. Instead of writing a proper ending, this great-great-grandmaster kept trying to extend the story. To tap into popular trends, he added a lot of tropes. Then, starting from the 5th volume, the reviews started to go downhill.
How could that be? Then what happened to Tales of Shahryar in the end?
In the end, there's no ending. The great-great-grandmaster tried to write a few more volumes, following whatever trends were popular at the time, but the trends kept changing right as he published his books. He got so infuriated that he stopped writing altogether and focused on his research instead.
What? So there's no ending? The readers didn't care?
By that time, only a very small number of people were reading Tales of Shahryar. Anyway, my master probably exaggerated. How could a work possibly have been that popular? The only tangible thing my great-great-grandmaster left is the original draft of Legend of Antara. He also left behind many theses from his research phase. When my master talked about Legend of Antara, he'd even quote from those theses. My master is a much better storyteller than me. Even when we're telling the same story about Antara, he's always able to draw in a huge crowd. But even he won't recite Tales of Shahryar due to its ever-changing writing style and its lack of an ending.
So, Antara's story is the one that lasted through the years.
Well, not even sages can definitively ascertain the quality of something like a story. In the end, only time can separate the classics from the fads.
Only time?
Madam Faruzan?
It's been 100 years. Perhaps some things I once believed to be great aren't so after all.
Yeah! Master helped me find a lot of famous books at first. But in the end, I realized that I couldn't get into them. No matter how good those stories are, I can't improve my skills if I can't bring myself to read them in the first place. I think the best books for me are the ones I like.
Huh. Indeed. That is true. Readers' interest in trends of a time are not things that are so easily predicted. What was popular 100 years ago could be completely forgotten in modern times. And yet, 100 years, as far as history is concerned, is but a blink of an eye. If Tales of Shahryar hadn't chased after trends and instead stuck to its original style from start to finish, it might have stood some chance of gaining renewed popularity. No, even if that didn't happen, at least it would be a work that was true to itself.
Huh? Our conversation just got a lot more serious.
I don't really get what you're talking about, but it does sound sensible. Looks like I also have to hang in there and tell Antara's story well.
How unseemly. I almost got carried away because of a single book. Well then, we should get back to the matter of our teaching material. It looks like we can't use Tales of Shahryar now. No, it's much too old.
Oh.
Kale, you found a book that you liked at the bookstall, yes?
Yes, but I don't really...
use that book as our teaching material. Now that I think about it, using a book that you like is the most suitable choice for teaching you how to read. As for the academia, as long as we come up with an appropriate course name, we should be able to get away with this. My, it sounds like you've dealt with the academia before. Let's go with that. Now then, let's return to the book vendor in a bit and buy the latest volume of this Onibudo for Kale. But if I wish to use it as teaching material, I have to read it first. Huh? Speaking of which, other than third eye of perception and illusory mirror, I also espy some unfamiliar phrases from the reader's messages at the back of the book. Such things as, even if it reminds me of my dark history, I still can't help but be drawn in by the story. And the author has written all the things that I only dare whisper into a tree hollow. Why do people use dark history to refer to awkward or embarrassing memories? Is this some slang that was invented in the last century? If one of our learning objectives was researching linguistic changes over the past 100 years, it might make it easier to get these books approved as teaching material.
Oh, I can tell you what that's all about. Apparently, in their youth, some people used to imagine themselves as someone burdened by fate, fighting against the world, etc. But as they grew older, they started to become embarrassed by such memories. Some would write those fantasies into novels, while others would entrust such tales to tree hollows.
Mata, you know, I suddenly have the urge to hear a story about Antara. Huh? Why so suddenly?
I knew it. There will always be people who love the golden oldies. Now, let me tell you all about the ancient hero, Antara.
I see every
Classic stories are timeless.
What now? She seems so busy. Master said there's no rush, but I know that he's been busy working on something at Pardis DI, so he hasn't returned to Gandharville for several days now. I feel for Madame Faruzan, but I still want to ask her to come with us. But if I get her in trouble with the academia, then she won't have the time to help Master. What should I do? Oh, this is such a headache. But if someone does complain to the academia, wouldn't it make Faruzan's situation more awkward? And if the academia investigated and found her at Pardis DI, things would get even worse for her. Do you have some way to invite her over to Pardis DI without stepping on the academia's toes? Okay then, I'm counting on you.
I have to teach students from Haravatat or Okasharawar a favor. It strikes me that they might be even less happy about such a deal than I am.
I think I can sympathize with them.
Madame Faruzan, we're back! Sorry for asking again, but are you sure you can't go to Pardis DI today?
Well, since you're asking me so sincerely, Let's just ignore the academia and...
Please, Madame Faruzan, focus. Today's the deadline. Huh?
Yes. I see. No wonder he sent you two over. Why, that lad didn't make it very clear in his letter, now did he? Otherwise, I would have reported it as part of my research.
Yeah, that's right. Master sent us over to explain everything to you.
Wait. Opportunities for collaborative research don't just come out of thin air. This seems like too much of a coincidence. Also, there isn't much overlap between Madame Faruzan's research and that of Amorta, right? What will you even be collaborating on?
Master wants to research, a fully automated irrigation system.
A fully automated irrigation system?
Precisely. It's a system that can automatically adjust the amount of water it provides based on the season and the plant species involved. I saw a similar mechanism while exploring a rune in the rainforest. That's why Tainari wanted to collaborate with me.
A mechanism like that exists? Why haven't I heard of it before?
I found it 100 years ago, so it's only natural that you don't know about it. Why don't you go ask your teacher's teacher? Perhaps they've heard about it from their teacher.
But we can't prove its existence one way or the other, right?
Fret not. I'll have Tainari write an official proposal to the Academia later. That should do it, right?
An official proposal. Fine. We haven't made any progress with either the collaborative project or the elective course anyway. I'll go inform my superiors now. Please do take care of the paperwork as soon as possible. Don't delay this any longer.
Sure. I'll be sure to needle him until he gets it done. Phew. I think she bought it. Even though this is our first meeting, I must say, we make a good team.
Wow! You made up that excuse on the spot, huh? Madame Faruzan, did you really find an irrigation system 100 years ago? If the Academia asks for any details...
Who knows? It's been 100 years, so it wouldn't be too surprising if I've forgotten a few details, no?
Huh? Then how will we explain things to them?
I'll let Tainari worry about whatever documents we might need to send to the Academia. If I'm right, the request he has in store for me won't be any simpler than the Academia nonsense.
Shisho?
そんな大きい声を出さなくたって聞こえてるよ。へえ、思ってたより順調だったんだ。てっきり先輩は処理しないといけない面倒事をたくさん抱えていらっしゃると思ってたんだけど。
旅人のおかげでそれらの面倒事は他のやつが代わりに悩んでくれることになったんじゃ。
他の人？それって一体？
ま、それは後で説明してやろう。お前は手紙にも書いておったこいつのことでわしを呼びつけたんじゃろ。
そうなんだ。みんなついてきて。緊張しないで、コレイ。 これはこの間僕と旅人が助けた機械生命だ。カカタっていうある亡くなった後輩の最後の作品なんだ。
アバッと言っちゃったか。一人でこのような完成度に仕上げるとは確かにとんでもない人材じゃ。ソロン派の学者でありながらこのように精巧な仕掛けを完成させたのか。もしそやつがまだ生きておればわしと気があったことじゃろう。誠に残念じゃな。お、様子がおかしいようじゃが、お前はちゃんと世話をしておるのか？機械生命は見た目よりもかなり繊細なんじゃぞ。
カカタは病気になったのか。
数日前からこんな風にダウン状態になってしまっていたんだ。もしかしたら前から隠れた病気があったのかもしれない。僕はソロン派の授業を受けたことがあるから、エネルギー供給のモジュールを何とかして直してみたんだ。でも今回問題が起きたのは駆動列の方みたいだ。今の僕が持ってる知識じゃカカタの状態をこれ以上悪化させないようギリギリ維持することくらいしかできない。でもファルザン先輩なら解決策を見つけられるでしょ。
それは何とも言えぬ。機械生命の構成には錬金術や元素学など多くの分野が関わっておる。各モジュールの間は互いに関連し合い影響を与えておるからの。ギミック術だけでなんとかなるとは言い切れないとお前も分かっておるはずじゃ。それに異なる機械生命の間にも大きな違いがある。わしの機械生命に対する理解がこのカニっ子にも適用されるかどうかはわしにもよくわからんのじゃ。
カカタ。
はあ、お前たち外に出ておれ。わしには静かな環境が必要じゃ。詳しく見てみんことには全てが仮説に過ぎぬ。
頼むよファルザン先輩。
機械生命は誠に不思議じゃ。機械生命、まさか100年後のスメールでこのような形でまた出会えるとはな。
早く元気になれよ。機械生命も病気になるなんて思わなかった。早く元気になるといいな。
先輩が見終わるまでここで待ってよ。ちょうど先輩について話しておきたかったんだ。そっか。先輩の経歴は教練院じゃ知ってる人も結構いる。でも他から聞くよりかは僕が直に教えておいた方がいいかもしれない。僕は先輩が100年もの間消えていたと言ったよね。でも先輩自身からすれば先輩の言葉を借りると、
あれは仕掛けだらけの暗号文が山ほど刻まれておる遺跡じゃった。暗号文を解読し仕掛けを解いてどうにか遺跡から脱出しようと頭を絞ったが心当たりは全然なくて、どのくらい経った頃じゃろうか。そのうち紙もペンも使い切って石のかけらと壁や地面を使っ、また時は過ぎ、どのくらい経った頃じゃろうか。そのうち壁や地面にも書く場所がなくなった。また時は過ぎ、どのくらい経った頃じゃろうか。記憶は曖昧になり判断力も。
それ以外のことを先輩は何も思い出せないんだ。遺跡の場所も最後に脱出した時の状況も。数年前先輩はスメールの野外で倒れているところを発見された。格好も見た目も100年前と変わらないままだったけど、 当時は意識が混濁して断片的な言葉しか話せなかった。先輩は長い間休養してやっと話せるようになったんだ。教練員は100年前に仕掛けを研究していた時、ファルザン先輩がある未知の遺跡に閉じ込められたんだって推測してる。それから遺跡の不思議な力が老化を止めたからこそ、先輩は100年かけて仕掛けを解いて脱出することができたってね。でも最終的には脱出に成功しても、100年経った今じゃかつての知り合いも先輩のことを知っている人もみんないなくなってしまった。教練員でさえ先輩の存在を確かめるためにはアーカー社に残されていた100年前の記録に頼るしかなかったんだ。そんな顔しないで。悲しいとかかわいそうとか思わせるためにこんなことを教えたんじゃないよ。先輩は過去のことで人に同情されたくないんだ。先輩は閉じ込められた100年のことを実験でいう失敗だって捉えてるみたいだ。学者たるもの、実験がもたらすあらゆる結果を受け入れるべきってね。たとえそれが期待にそぐわない結果としてもだ。だからあれだけの経験をしたのに、先輩はスメールに戻った後も自分の研究を諦めなかった。時代の変遷や学術における意見の食い違いで、先輩は今の教練員に対していろいろ文句がある。それに教練員じゃ先輩に対する非難もあるかもしれない。でも僕が言いたいのは、いつの時代においてもファルザン先輩は先輩という名にふさわしい人だってことなんだ。先輩はいろんな遺跡や仕掛けに対して独自の見解を持ってる。もし機会があればまた先輩と話してみて。
師匠、ファルザン先輩がカカタを見終わったよ。
わかった。それじゃあ見に行こうか。何か分かったことがあるといいんだけど。
まさか100年経った今になってまた蘇生装置に出会えるとはな。アバットイのやつめ、とんでもないものを装着しよったの。この機械生命、新陳代謝に値するような行動は取らなかったか？例えば傷ついた機体を修復するために部品を集めるとか。
最終的な使い道は違ってたけど、デザイン上は確かにそういう機能がついてるはずだよ。
やはりな。わしの推測が正しければカカタの病巣は蘇生装置にあるはずじゃ。アバットイはモジュールに色々と修正をかけたようじゃが、核となる部品やデザインの理念はわしの知っておるものとさほど変わらぬ。どれも遺跡機械の創造者たちはギミック術によって生命に変わる、あるいは生命を超える永久期間を作ろうとした。奴らの数えきれないほどの試みの中で蘇生装置はその一つじゃった。生き物の新陳代謝を模倣することで似たような自己修復の機能を実現したんじゃ。じゃが今度は蘇生装置のエネルギー消費とメンテナンスが新たな問題となった。
エネルギー消費？メンテナンス？
例えば生き物の心臓が臓器に血液や養分を運ぶことができるのと同じじゃ。じゃが生き物の体格が大きければ大きいほど心臓が提供する圧もより大きくなっていく。心臓が損傷を受けた場合は自己修復はとても困難で、他の臓器にも影響を及ぼしてしまうことになる。じゃからこの試みは広く応用されてこんかったんじゃろう。100年前にもわしは一度しか見たことがない。困ったぞ。わしの見立てではカカタを直すには蘇生装置の傷ついた部品を交換しなければならぬ。じゃがさっき言ったように古代の創造物の中でも蘇生装置を装着した個体は非常に珍しいんじゃ。関連の研究文献となればさらに少ない。じゃから 交換部品を探すのはまるで広大な砂漠から一つの歯車を探すようなことじゃ。一から作るのはさらに非現実的じゃ。はあ、アバッドイのやつは一体どこから初めの部品を手に入れたんじゃろうな。
なんとなく心当たりがある。アバッドイはかつて大石境での実地調査に熱心だった時期があるんだ。教練院から追い出されたのはほぼその直後のことだ。
あやつは砂漠で蘇生装置に出会ったということか？うん、全く可能性がないわけでもない。
でも砂漠はこんなに広いのに、カカタに必要なパーツをどうやって探せばいいんだ？
教練院の記録によれば似たような部品はこの100年発掘されておらんそうじゃ。運試ししたいならまだ発掘されておらん遺跡を探索するしかないじゃろうな。
そういえば砂嵐と地震が収まった後、ある陰論派の学者が考古小隊を結成して、以前は探索が難しかった砂漠エリアを探索してるみたいだ。
その人たちに最近何か発見はなかったか聞いてみるか？
希望は薄いが、あてもなく駆け回るよりは効率的じゃろうな。
ラエットっていう学者で、今列中砂原の北東方向にいるはずだよ。カカタを落ち着かせてから一緒に見に行こ
う。いや、お前とコレイは良い。カカタの状態はそこそこ安定しておるが、誰かに面倒を見ておいてもらった方がいいからな。それにお前には教練員が残してくれた問題を解決してもらわんといかん。
教練員の問題？それは他の人に引き継いだんじゃなかったの？待てよ、まさか。
詳しくはコレイから聞きなさい。お前の今回の宿題じゃ。楽しみにしておるぞ。
全自動考え仕掛け。ファルザン先輩ってば本当に厄介な課題を残してくれたな。
師匠、私に手伝えることはある？材料の購入とか紙と筆の用意とか。
確か君は今日中に終わらせなきゃいけない宿題がまだたくさん残ってるんじゃない？
はい。
宿題を終わらせてさっさとベッドで横になりなさい。ファルザン先輩を心配させないことが一番の助けだから。
わかりました。
カカタ、早く治るといいな。
カカタ、早く元気になれよ。
これは
待ちだ。ラエットさんの許可がない限り部外者は立ち入り禁止だ。ダメだ。素人が勝手に遺跡に近づいたり現場を破壊したりしないようにというラエットさんからの指示だ。
現場を破壊？わしが調査してきた遺跡はこれまでお前が足を運んできた料理店よりも多いぞ。そのラエットというのは一体何期の学生じゃ。わしに会いに来るよう伝えるがよい。
ラエットさんは今拠点にいないから早く出て行ってくれ。お前たちを通らせるかどうかはラエットさんが決めることだ。
頑固なやつめ。そうじゃな。たとえ何か情報があったとしても あやつが帰ってきてから聞くしかあるまい。今はこの近くで情報を集めるとしよう。ラエットが帰ってきたら聞かんといかんぞ。一体ドイツの教え子かとな。
待ちな。ラエットさんの許可がない限りこいつら何の目的だ。やはりラエットさんに判断を仰ぐ。
What they say is true. You have to see the world for yourself to appreciate how beautiful it is.
I'm tired. I just want to go home. The ruins? Don't know anything. We were only hired to deliver water and supplies to them. Forget excavation. They won't even let us get close to the camp where they're staying.
They won't even let us go near the camp. This area used to be ravaged by frequent sandstorms, but it's been calm lately for some reason. They say that this was done by a single traveler? But seriously, is such a thing even humanly possible?
Rumors really be true? That machine looks amazing! Could it be the legendary Ruin Wanderer? The location seems to fit too. Might that legend actually be true?
Well, I found out everything I could. Is there anything that stands out to you? To be honest, the ruins were difficult to excavate in the past, but they really are much safer now, thanks to you. However, I'm more concerned about this Ruin Wanderer they speak of. Ruin Wanderer. That's the first time I've heard that name. But that wreckage did seem a bit weird. It's a bit far away, and I can't really say for sure from this distance. Perhaps we should ask the villager from before about the legend first.
Huh? What are you guys doing back here? I wouldn't blame you for not knowing about it, youngsters. After all, it's a tale that's over a decade old. It's said that this monster, the Ruin Wanderer, traversed through various ruins for centuries. Many adventurers had claimed to see it while exploring. Some said that it was like a giant, while others said that it was like a beast. However, none knew why it wandered the ruins. Then, about 10 years ago, we stopped hearing any news about it in Sumeru. No one has seen it since then, and the legend has since faded into memory. You youngsters probably don't know about the Ruin Wanderer nowadays, but it was famous for centuries.
Centuries? Impossible. I heard nothing about it back then. It could only have been around for a few decades at most.
Wait, back then?
Indulge my curiosity for a moment. Why do you think that wreckage is the Ruin Wanderer?
Well, I had also heard that secondhand from...
You heard that nonsense from the Eremites after they got drunk, right?
Who are you?
Madam Faruzan, it is a pleasure. I'm Raid, the one who organized this archaeological expedition. I'd heard of you at the Academia, but I didn't expect to run into you here. Truly, it is an honor. And this must be the famous traveler, I presume. What brings the two of you here?
Have you found any special contraptions and relics in the ruins that you've been investigating?
I'm ashamed to say that we haven't found anything noteworthy, even though we've been investigating for a while now.
Really? That Ruin Wanderer isn't noteworthy to you?
I'm afraid those are mere rumors. Really, I sometimes wish that those people would put as much effort into their work as they do into gossiping.
You're right, sir. I'll get back to work now.
The wise do not buy into rumors, so it is said. I believe that you too, Madame Faruzan, do not put any stock into such baseless talk.
It is also said that real knowledge shall come from practice. I can help you research the excavated relics and see if I can find out anything new about them. You can take credit for any new discoveries. I believe this offer to be sufficiently attractive.
In truth, I could ask for nothing better than your help with our research. However, you two must be tired after a long journey. I'd feel bad if I set you to work immediately. It's getting late and my subordinates and I are heading back to the camp to rest. Why don't you find a place to spend the night first? We can continue our discussion tomorrow. There's a tent that the villagers occasionally use to rest. It's a bit simple, yes, but I hope you won't mind.
Since you need to rest as well, let's do just that.
Why now, of all times?
This is quite far away. Are they trying to prevent the villagers from eavesdropping on them? This suits us just fine, though. This way, they won't overhear our conversations either. Now, I have my suspicions about this archaeological expedition team and that machine wreckage. I only caught a quick glimpse, and it was from a distance. But based on the condition of the armor and joints, it didn't seem like something that had been lying around for centuries. At most, I'd estimate that it only stopped moving about a dozen years ago. Yes, the timing coincides with the spreading of the legend. Now, assuming that it really is the Ruin Wanderer, how do you suppose it was able to maintain a relatively good condition despite high-intensity operation over the course of several decades? That's right. Technically speaking, the module shouldn't be able to move such a large machine chassis. However, I'm basing my knowledge on the mechanical life forms I've seen before. Well, this was over 100 years ago. It was a machine about the same size as Carcata, actually. It couldn't carry heavy objects or fight, and was only able to help me record some notes. It also helped me deliver letters home. I found it near the desert, which is why I wondered if there might be more restitution modules buried around here. Honestly, people in ancient times might have already solved the problem of providing enough power for all I know. I'll need to research this properly. Had I confronted Raid right there and then, he would have said that he couldn't tell that the machine was special. Then he'd just hand it over to the Academia obediently, and he'd get away scot-free. If the wreckage were to be handed to the Academia, it'd be much tougher for us to do research on it or get spare parts for Carcata. Anyway, we should figure out what they're planning before making our next move. They insisted that we should stay the night, which means if they're trying to pull a fast one on us, they're likely to try tonight. We must be vigilant. Are those sounds coming from the excavation site? I knew they wouldn't be able to wait. They must be scared that we might discover something tomorrow. Not a single person guarding the campsite. This must be quite the manpower expenditure. I'll see if they left any clues behind at their camp. Keep watch and help me stall them if it comes to that, would you? All right. I'm counting on you. I see everything.
Why now? Why isn't the tent here yet? We need to switch it out tonight.
It's still on the way. I'm afraid this is the first time we're delivering such a huge one.
You good-for-nothings are just a load of trouble, aren't you? We wouldn't have to deal with these interlopers if you had kept those lips of yours from flapping. Hurry up and hide our current tent and deliver the new one to me tonight, no matter what it takes.
Huh? Who's there?
I'm sorry. I'm just a bit upset because my subordinates aren't doing their jobs properly. When did you get here? It's nothing. Just a tent. We didn't pack up all our tents from the last campsite. Some of them, along with a few people, have been left there. Someone damaged our current tent, so I'm trying to get my subordinates to get one from that previous campsite delivered here. The relics in the ruins are highly valuable, so I'm worried that treasure hoarders and bandits might try to steal them. Since the tent isn't here yet and I can't fall asleep, I came here to patrol. Well, these things are antiques after all. There will always be people interested in buying them. I hired so many people precisely because I was worried about that happening. Speaking of which, I'd like to ask, is the Academia really aware that you've traversed through the desert to come here in the middle of the night? Also, where's Faruzan? Why isn't she with you?
I'm right here. Also, you forgot to address me as Madam.
Sorry, Madam Faruzan.
You were all making so much noise that I couldn't sleep, which is why I got the Traveler to find out what was going on. But for some reason, that one task took forever, so I came to check in on the situation.
I'm very sorry for disturbing your rest. I'll tell my subordinates to be quieter on patrol.
Good. Come on, Traveler. Let's head back. Yes, we came to check out the situation, didn't we? Well, we've already done that. We should get better rest so that we'll have energy to investigate tomorrow. Everyone hold it?
Why now, of all times?
Thanks for dealing with them. Now, I found something good on my end. These are the excavation records from their campsite. According to them, the ruins have been raided before, with numerous traps and contraptions having already been triggered. I also observed the wreckage up close earlier. The weathering is nowhere near as extensive as on the relics that have been buried for over 100 years. There's no doubt that the wreckage in the ruins don't belong to the same era. Instead, it must have wandered into the ruins about a dozen years ago. It could have fallen into a trap or encountered a glitch within the ruins, remaining stationary like that until it was discovered recently. However, I still don't know why they'd want to hide it. I have no doubt that the researcher could definitely reach the same conclusion I did. The last few pages of the excavation records are written in code, which I still need time to decipher. It's just wordplay. And if anything, that's my wheelhouse. Just a bit more. I see now.
Help! Please help! Why are you running away? Come back! Protect me!
What's that sound? Is it? The Ruin Wanderer? Reactivated? That's impossible! Is this the work of some kind of hidden mechanism? Never mind. We have to focus on saving lives first. I'll cover them. You go stall the Ruin Wanderer. What? It ignored the Traveler?
Why is it chasing after us?
What could have caused it to reactivate? Did it give chase?
Darn it! Hey, come on, you lot! It's clear that we can't escape, so let's just attack it!
It stopped?
Hey, you guys, get up there and tell me what's going on!
But what if it suddenly moves?
You good-for-nothings! Why is everyone I hired so useless? Move! I'll do it myself. Looks like this thing's parts can't handle the load of functioning anymore after years of disrepair. When it first reactivated, I was wondering if it'd be as amazing as the legends had pegged it to be. I didn't expect it to be so much weaker than it looks. How disappointing.
Disappointing, you say? Now, is that because you won't be able to sell it for much?
Faruzan, you may be my senior as an academia researcher, but that doesn't mean you get to slander me.
You wrote these excavation records, did you not? Or perhaps calling it a ledger might jog your memory a bit better.
I don't recognize that thing.
January 3rd, excavated 5 tenths. January 5th, 3 tenths sold. January 10th, 1 special tent pre-sold. It must quickly be switched out with an old tent. You're supposed to be an archaeological expedition team, and yet here you are, secretly selling the relics and profiting from it. When you believed that you had found the wreckage of the Ruin Wanderer, you tried to switch in wreckage that you had excavated previously to pull the wool over the Academia's eyes. After all, there would probably be many wealthy buyers interested in purchasing the legendary Ruin Wanderer in the black market, yes? And then we arrived just before you could finish your work. That forced you to speed up your plan, and you tried to complete the switch overnight before I could investigate the wreckage. In your haste, however, you accidentally activated the Ruin Wanderer instead. Did I get that all right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You lack the curiosity befitting a man of knowledge, nor do you have respect for mechanical life forms. You're not fit to be a researcher.
Ridiculous. Curiosity? Respect? I'm not here to hear you preach. Hey, we're leaving.
Mr. Aid! Behind you? Why is it moving again? Run!
Some said that it was like a giant, while others said that it was like a beast. However, none knew why it wandered the ruins.
Technically speaking, the module shouldn't be able to move such a large machine chassis. However, I'm basing my knowledge on the mechanical life forms I've seen before. Centuries? Impossible. I heard nothing about it back then. It could only have been around for a few decades at most.
Why is it chasing after us?
So you've been looking for me this whole time? Long time no see, Tamimi. Hey! Everyone hold hands!
Dear Faruzan, I hope you're doing well. It has been over 20 years since you went missing. People from the academia keep telling us to give up and that you're most likely dead. But somehow, I feel like you're still alive. Yes, that you live still in some corner of this world. You've always been persistent, able to shine no matter what situation you face. I believe that this persistence serves you well in surviving and finding your way home. Unfortunately, I likely won't be able to welcome you home when you do. I don't have much time left, and my reflexes have slowed. Others keep telling me to stop exploring ruins. Only Tamimi is still the same as before, always running off to places which you've been to. Your teacher and friends came up with an idea to remodel Tamimi, so it can search for you in our place. You didn't like coming home back then, and would always get Tamimi to send a letter back. Now we're leaving a letter with Tamimi. I wonder if it'll ever be delivered to you. I don't know the answer to that question, but if you ever read this letter, I hope it'll be when you've already found your way home. I regret not being able to say this to you myself, but I'll still feel sincerely happy for you, my dear daughter.
Welcome home, Faruzan. Look at you, Tamimi. You've changed so much after all these years. Thank you for waiting for me all this time. I've safely received the letters. Your work is done now. You can sleep. Tamimi, the mechanical life form I encountered back then. When I would go on expeditions, it would follow me, take notes for me, and send my letters home. When I met with that accident, it was on the way to deliver a letter for me. I once thought that I'd never get to see it again. I didn't expect my teacher and others to remodel its self-repair function, upgrading it to self-learning. And so, in order to plumb the depths of unknown ruins and overcome dangerous traps, it repaired and modified itself using parts it found along the way. One decade of wandering became many, and soon, Tamimi, which used to be incapable of even moving heavy objects, became the Ruin Wanderer. All so it could deliver these last letters from them to me. The strain to support such a huge body must have turned out to be too much for your heart, right? Even after the remodeling, its restitution module still can't function perfectly in perpetuity. It has been pushing itself beyond its limits over the past few decades. Just like a living being, mechanical life forms have a limited lifespan. It probably became trapped in the ruins all those years ago because its shelf life had run out. It most likely only reactivated because it detected my presence. And then it mustered up everything it had to deliver that last letter. Now, it can finally rest in peace. Tainari told you what happened to me, right? You don't have to apologize. It's not like this incident is a secret in the academia. Besides, I've always treated it as a failed experiment. As a researcher, I must accept this result. However, finding out that so many people were affected by my failure does make me feel somewhat conflicted. Can you head back to Pardis DI first? We've been here for a while, and it's best not to make Kale and the rest worry. As for me, I want to stay with Tamimi for a bit longer. Just a bit. Hey! 早く雨宿りしましょう。じゃないと頭にキノコが生えるわよ。
戻ってきたのか。
砂漠での旅は順調だった？あれ、ファルサン先輩は？
そんな、せっかく100年前の旧友に会えたのに、一瞬で。
学者としては受け入れられるかもしれないけど、友達や生徒、娘としてはね。先輩を一人にさせてあげて。僕たちはここで先輩を待とう。これからは100年後の新しい友達である僕たちがちょっとは先輩の助けになれるといいんだけど。
ただいま。むむ。誰も迎えに来てくれんのか？
みんな待ってたんだよ、ファルサン先輩。
ならばよい。これが砂漠から持ち帰った部品じゃ。かかたに装着すればすぐ元気になるはずじゃぞ。お、どうしたんじゃ？お前たちのその死んだような顔は。若者ならばもっと元気を出せ。
でもファルザン先輩、そのパーツは。
なんじゃ、そのことか。てっきり何か面倒事が起きたのかと思ったぞ。どうやら事の詳細はすでに知っておるようじゃの。何、わしのために悲しくなる必要はない。言ったはずじゃろ。学者たる者、己の失敗に直面することをも学ばねばならぬ。100年も荷重負担の状態で稼働しておったんじゃ。これらの部品を取っておいたとしても、今のわしの力で民身を治すことはできん。それならいっそかかたの中であやつの命を生かし続けた方が良いかもしれん。先輩というものはな、いつも後輩のために何かを残すものなんじゃ。学者もそうじゃし、機械もそうじゃ。それにこれらの部品をタダでやるとは言っておらんぞ。しばらくの間かかたの中に預けるだけじゃ。じゃないとお前たちにわしの研究の手伝いを続けてもらえんじゃろ。そしてわしが古代文明の創造物を完全に解析し再現できた時、民身の神聖の時が来る。
分かった。全力で先輩に協力するよ。
私も。今はまだ何もできないかもしれないけど。
当時のやつらにも民身を改造できたんじゃから、今のわしらならもっとうまくやれるはずじゃ。その日が来たらわしはきっとあやつにこう伝えるぞ。おかえり民身とな。
知ることがね。
戻ってきたのか。
砂漠での旅は順調だった？あれ、ファルサン先輩は？そっか。ファルサン先輩には まだやるべきことがあるんだ。まさかラエッドが裏でこんなことをしてたなんてね。君たちが無事でよかったよ。
ファルザン先輩が戻ってきたらカカタは治るよね。
ただいま。むむ。誰も迎えに来てくれんのか？
私たちはここだよ、ファルザン先輩。
ならばよい。ほれ、これが砂漠から持ち帰った部品じゃ。カカタに装着すればすぐ元気になるはずじゃぞ。
これが古代文明の産物なの？本当に不思議だね。ラエッドみたいな外道の手に落ちなくてよかったよ。
外道？お前は奴らに事情を話したのか？そうか、感謝する。後のことはまた後ほど話そう。なんでもない。ラエットと奴の犯罪証拠はすでに教令員に送ったからの。奴らはしばらくそちらに手一杯で、わしらを煩わせに来る暇はないじゃろ。では早速カカタの修理に取り掛かろう。これ、手を貸してくれぬか？
はい。元気になってよかった。でも治ったと言ってもちゃんと休憩は取らないとダメだからな。
先輩はカカタを直したと思ったら出て行っちゃったよ。君に用事があるみたいだったけど、まあ君たちの間のことだし深入りはしないでおくよ。けど何か手伝いが必要だったら遠慮なく言ってよ。ファルザン先輩、何か悩み事があるみたいだ。今はそっとしておこう。
これからはカカタと一緒にパトロールできるかな。
来たか。タミミのことじゃが、秘密を守ってくれてありがとうな。それを言ってもなお、奴らが単純にカカタのために喜べると思うか？たとえ最後には部品を受け取ってくれたとしても、心にわだかまりを抱え続けることになるじゃろう。過ぎ去ったことが今の人々に影響を与え続けることは望んでおらん。構わん。とっくに慣れておるわ。懐かしい人々に関する情報はもう一生手に入らんと思っておった。皆がどんな様子をしておったかも、わしの記憶の中でだんだんと薄れていく。だがタミミが届けてくれた手紙のおかげで再びそれを思い出すことができた。皆わしのことを一度たりとも諦めてはおらんかった。それで十分じゃ。過去にとらわれてしまえばそれこそ皆の善意を裏切ってしまうじゃろ。先生も母もきっとそのようなことは望んでおらぬ。それに今こうしてお前はわしの話を聞いてくれておるではないか。パルディスディアイの夜景はいいものじゃ。ティナリとコレイにはカカタの状況が安定してからまたきっかけを作って伝えるつもりじゃ。今は もう少し秘密を守っていてくれるか。ありがとうな。100年前にも100年後にもわしのことを心配してくれて思ってくれるものがおるんじゃな。そう考えてみればわしもずいぶん幸運に恵まれたもんじゃ。そう思わんか。残念なことが一つあるとすれば、戻ってきたばかりの時誰も先輩であるこのわしを訪ねてこなかったことじゃな。おふむ、ただいま。
どうしよう。ファルザン先輩はまだやることがいっぱいあるみたいだ。師匠は緊急じゃないって口では言ってたけど、私知ってるんだ。師匠はもう何日もガンダルバー村に戻ってなくて、パルディスティアイでずっと何か忙しそうにしてる。ファルザン先輩にはちょっと申し訳ないけど、やっぱりまずは一緒に来てもらうしかない。でもそのせいで教令員から責任を問われて、結局師匠を助ける余裕もなくなったらどうしよう。頭が痛くなってきた。ファルザン先輩にとっても師匠にとってもそれがいいかもしれない。後で私に手伝えることがないか師匠に聞いてみるよ。師匠はきっと君がそれならファルザン先輩も早く問題を解決できるし、師匠に会いに行けるよな。じゃあ私も残って手伝った方が。じゃあ任せた。
妙論派の行為を受けぬなら知論派の生徒に授業をしなければならんと。わしよりも奴らの方がよっぽど嫌がっておるやもしれぬがな。
彼らの気持ちがなんとなくわかる気がします。
ただいま、ファルザン先輩。旅人が残って手伝ってくれるらしいんだ。
ほう、それは願ったりじゃのう。ちょうどアザールを懲らしめた旅人が。そうか、ならばよい。実は今ちょうどある問題に直面しておってのう。知論派で選択科目の授業を開くべきか、それとも妙論派で共同研究に携わることを選ぶべきか。おい、正直どっちも選びとうない。ティナリから聞いているかどうか知らんが、わしの研究方向は各種遺跡とその中の仕掛けに関するもので、わしが所属する学派はギミックを研究する妙論派でもエネルギーの流れを研究するソロン派でもない。言語や文字を専攻とする知論派なんじゃ。
妙論派は何度かクシャレワー学院で研究を続けるようにと先輩を誘ったのですが、全部断られてしまいまして。
奴らが自分たちをどう紹介したか聞いてみ。クシャレワー学院はこれから先において唯一仕掛けを研究する能力を持つ学院であるじゃと。学術研究において唯一なんぞないわ。それにギミック術の現代生活への応用に重きを置く今の妙論派は戸籍を考察するわしの研究方針にそぐわん。もし奴らがまた共同研究の件を講じずにわしに考え直せと言ってくるようであれば。
今回は違います。アジャンタ彫刻展から正式に招待状が届いているんです。妙論派の責任者が ファルザン先輩を推薦したんですよ。これも彼女が個人的に先輩に対して尊敬の念を持っているからこそ。これは彼女から直に聞いた言葉です。
ほ？尊敬じゃと。研究方針をこととしておることは別として、妙論派の姿勢は評価に値する。少なくとも知論派の旧木どもよりはマシじゃのう。
アジャンタ彫刻展か。あそこは私も結構いい印象だった。
お前とコレイがそういうのならばひとまず聞いてやろう。
やっと。簡単に説明すると、アジャンタ彫刻展は子供の知識に対する好奇心を幼い頃から育てられるような、楽しみながら学習できる知育玩具をいくつかデザインしようとしています。
ほう、知育玩具。面白いではないか。
教令員が彼らに協力するのも、これらのおもちゃが将来より多くの子供たちを立派な学者にすることを願ってのことです。
確かに今の教令員は新風を吹き込むべきじゃ。今から育てればわしも今後その中からいい人材を招くことができるかもしれんな。
ファルザン先輩、やっぱりまだ学生が来てないんだ。
妙論派責任者のアニスは今オルモス港の旅館で休んでいます。少しでも興味を持ってくださるようでしたら、そのあたりで彼女を探してみてください。
オルモス港か。ずいぶん久しぶりじゃのう。当時と比べれば相当変わっておるじゃろ。
オルモス港か。ちょっと遠いな。私は戻って師匠に報告して今日の宿題をやらないといけないから、一緒に行くのは無理かも。
案ずるな。コレイは自分の勉強に専念すればよい。わしもこっちのことを終えたらパルディスディアイまでお前たちを探しに行こう。それはありがとう。伝説の旅人を間近に観察できるとは、学者の好奇心を満たすまたとない機会じゃな。
Madam Faruzan! Oh, it's really you. Did you change your mind?
All right, calm down. Let me be clear. I'm still not all that interested in Kasharawar. I'm just here to see how the project is going. After all, you're here as representatives of the academia in this collaboration. The reputation of all research is at stake here, so I will not simply stand by should mistakes get made.
Either way, it's good that you were willing to come. Now, we've given Akara Crafts many ideas over the past couple of days. However, their owner thinks that our designs are too complicated, which will drive production costs too far up.
That's expected. Students who have never had to deal with budgetary constraints probably don't understand how important it is to keep costs low. How enviable. Oh,
If you join the Kasharawar, your budget will be as big as you want it to be. I guarantee it.
That's enough. I will not repeat myself. Take me to Akara Crafts owner first, if you please.
All right. He's usually at the slope up ahead recruiting volunteers to test out his toys. Let's just head over. Mamdu, the one I recommended is here.
Oh, so you're, Madam Faruzan?
Yes, that's me.
Ah, wonderful. we haven't been able to make any progress on our collaboration recently. We've made many suggestions, but Miss Anise thought that those ideas were too simple and wouldn't be effective in training the mind.
These early learning toys are meant to help the academia train future researchers, after all. If they're too simple, then how are they any different from regular toys?
But if they're too complicated, not only will they be expensive to produce considering our production capabilities, but they won't have much broad appeal to Sumeru's children either.
So the design can't be too complicated, but it can't be too easy to play with either.
I remember that in your notes, many contraptions have managed to fulfill complex functions despite using simple parts. Maybe we can do something similar with these early learning toys.
The contraptions in my notes? I didn't create those. I simply took the contraptions in the ruins apart and analyzed them. But now that you mention it, the ruins did have things like that. Do you have a pen, paper, and scissors? I'll make a paper prototype.
You have an idea already? I suppose I should have expected as much of a respected academia senior researcher. We do have those. Yes, please, help yourself. Oh, you're done already?
Let me explain. These 3 thick lines represent 3 poles. These paper strips of varying lengths represent rings of different sizes. They can be slotted onto the poles and stacked up like a tower.
Well, that is easier to make than I expected. So, how is this game played?
That's very simple as well. You just need to shift the tower from this pole to another pole.
Isn't this a little too simple? Even by the standards of an early learning toy, I mean.
Of course, when moving each ring, the paper strips in this case, you must follow one rule. You can only move one ring at a time, and you can't place a bigger ring on top of a smaller one. It's like building a tower. The rings in the 3 poles must be stacked from big to small. I named this toy Pagoda Stack.
Pagoda Stack.
That sounds way too simple. Even I feel like it's missing something.
Give it a try and you'll find out if it's simple or not. I heard from Anise that you find volunteers to try out the toys, right? Why don't we do the same for this game?
It's such a simple toy. There's no need to...
Mandu, let's just do as she says.
Okay, then.
And that's how you play this game. You can all give it a try. Let's see who's able to move the tower to another pole in the smallest number of steps.
You called everyone here for such a simple toy?
It doesn't look like it'll take that many steps.
Come on, we all promised to help Mr. Momdu test out the new toys. He said he'd give us new Genius Invocation TCG cards.
Ugh, fine. Let's get this over and done with so we can head back and play cards.
Done! It took me 19 steps.
Huh? It took me over 20 steps.
I only needed 18 steps.
Not bad. Looks like you're all familiar with the rules now. Then let's increase the difficulty. The next tower will be 5 layers tall. Now then, give it a shot. Wait, there's more?
Well, since we're already here, why don't we just give it a try?
An extra layer shouldn't make it that much harder, right?
What's going on? I've already moved over 30 steps, but I'm still not done yet.
I'm almost done. Looks like I'm the faster one this time.
Done! It took me 35 steps.
What? How?
This Pagoda Stack toy is pretty fun to play with.
Good. We'll try it one final time. This time, we'll add 2 more layers, making 7 layers in total. Momdu, we've still got quite a few paper strips here. Why don't you give this a go as well?
Do you need that many steps for something this simple? Let me try.
Madam Faruzan, allow me to try it as well.
You were looking at it quite seriously just now. Are you starting to understand the principles involved?
I think so.
If you want to test out your hypothesis, you'll just have to play and find out.
Got it.
We don't have enough paper strips left for you, Traveler. However, by the looks of things, you seem to have the game figured out. Why don't you guess what the lowest number of steps needed to solve a 7-layer pagoda stack is? What a shame. You were close. However, you did well for someone seeing pagoda stack for the first time. Let's see how well they do then.
If I move this small ring, then the big one won't be able to go on top of it. Oh, this is going to take more steps than I expected.
I've lost count of how many steps I've taken. Can I restart?
This got a lot harder.
I solved it! Madam Faruzan, it takes 127 steps in total.
That many? But there are only 7 layers.
For every extra layer in the pagoda stack, the move order you need to consider becomes much more complex, and the number of steps required will at least double.
More accurately, it will require double the steps, plus 1 each time. You did well. You didn't underestimate the principles behind it just because it's an early learning toy. The complexity of any given contraption isn't determined by the number of parts it has. The way the parts interact and the rules behind how it operates are important too.
Oh, I see. No wonder you emphasized in your notes that no contraption should ever be underestimated.
I see. So even a simple toy can become complex with the right set of rules.
That's right. The rules used for pagoda stack are the simplest kind when it comes to ancient contraption-making techniques. I could spend some time picking out all those machines that do something similar and write you a reference book. Once that happens, you can give the volunteers the reference book and paper prototypes and find out which toy is the most popular.
Do you have any other toys?
Yeah! When can we play with them?
In about 2 days or so, I think. Anise, if you're free, can you help me with the illustrations for the reference book?
Of course! I'd be honored.
2 days should be enough for us to find more volunteers. Then we can organize a huge conference here, at which we can announce which toy we'll be making. You'd be most welcome. We need more people to get a healthy range of opinions. The more, the merrier.
Thank you for coming here with me today. I'll walk back with you.
Is Madam Faruzan really going to mentor me? What an honor! I'm sure she'll say helping with illustrations isn't mentoring. So, don't tell her I said that.
No wonder she's so well respected at the academia. When I first saw her, I thought she might be unreliable because she's so young. Don't let her know I said that. Anise warned me about that before.
I see everything.
Surely the kids will like this one.
We need to wait 2 whole days before we get the new toys?
It might just be all reference stuff. It'll be a long time before we can play with the real toys.
Guess all we can do is play Genius Invocation TCG in the meantime.
Hey, this new game is even more fun than Genius Invocation TCG.
This new game's not bad, but Genius Invocation TCG is better.
This new game's fun. Like Genius Invocation TCG.
I'll be going then. Say hi to Tainari and Kale for me if you can. Once everything here is settled, I'll make my way over to Pardis DI as quickly as I can. You want to ask why I'm unwilling to join them, yes? Putting aside the fact that they're too full of themselves, I actually have no issue with their research methodologies and approach. After all, knowledge is either right or wrong. Superiority and inferiority do not come into the conversation. All researchers are just doing their best to shed light on the unknown in their respective fields of expertise. No matter what corner of the unknown they shed light on, it's a step forward for us all. Because I believe wholeheartedly in that principle, even if the others call my research useless, as long as the knowledge I gain from it is accurate, it could become useful in the future. In the end, useful and useless are concepts that shouldn't be used to evaluate knowledge. When I first started deciphering ancient documents, I didn't think about how it'd be useful to Ksharawar. That's why there's no need for me to join them to do useful research. I'd rather stay in Haravatat. It's much more convenient for me to access the materials I need for my research here. Still, the funding that Ksharawar has offered me is so hard to get in Haravatat. Perhaps if this collaborative project goes smoothly, I can even ignore Haravatat and ask for a higher budget directly from the academia. Oh, I could come up with lots of ideas. With Anis's help, 2 days will be enough for our work. However, I'm still undecided as to the style of the reference book's text and illustrations. You're right. Explanations are a core part of early developments, too. By using detailed and accurate illustrations, we can impart knowledge more effectively. It would also make it easier for me to recruit students. Thank you. I'll take your opinion into account. See you in 2 days.
What they say is true. You have to see the world for yourself to appreciate how beautiful it is.
Oh, you're here. We're just starting to set up the venue.
We've called up everyone we possibly could have. This is going to be quite the event.
My masterpiece is going to be exhibited after all. Let's see what the academia shall say about it this time. To sum up, the 24 forms of pressure-based puzzle mechanisms were used in various ruins. All right, let's go to the next page. Now, I'll explain the base layer design of elemental monuments.
Are we done yet? Oh, I'm falling asleep.
I don't understand any of it at all.
Are these really toys?
They sound a bit too dangerous to buy for children.
Oh.
Well, we've prepared paper prototypes for everyone. If you're interested in the mechanisms Madame Faruzan's talked about, you're more than welcome to try them out.
Oh, this is no fun. Can I try another toy?
I want to go home and play Genius Invocation TCG.
Forget it. I don't think anyone would be interested.
I should go home and take care of my children.
How did this happen? Forget about getting opinions from others. No one even wanted to stay and try them out.
I'm sorry. I think we miscalculated.
No, you simply gave suggestions. I was the one who decided to follow through. Anis, too, was only following my instructions. I will find a way to make up for this error. Please, give me some time. I'll write another reference book.
Excuse me, but are you the one who wrote this reference book?
Yes. Who are you?
Ah, you're that man Mountain who was in the crowd just now.
Do I stand out that much? Well, I guess I don't look like someone who'd have anything to do with toys. Let me introduce myself. I'm Kamal, the branch master of Sumeru's Adventurers Guild.
What's the branch master doing here? Were you looking for us, or did something happen?
I came to Port Ormos to visit some old friends. On the way over, I saw the booklet you were handing out, so I came to take a look. Can you print a few more copies of this booklet and sell them to the Adventurers Guild? Also, could you make full-fledged models of those paper prototypes and sell them to us as well?
What does the Adventurers Guild want with these toys?
You may see them as toys, but to adventurers who need to deal with all sorts of machines and contraptions within ancient ruins, this booklet is a true treasure. We have many members who can't read, so books are of little use to them. What they know of handling mechanisms has been learned solely through word of mouth. Even if the academia granted public access to all their books, there are people who can't use them.
Ah, and our booklet is practically all pictures.
Well, it is designed for children.
It might be a bit too difficult for children, but it's perfect for adventurers. Also, those paper strips, you called them paper prototypes? If you can make wooden versions for demonstration purposes, even the most illiterate person would be able to follow along and understand. If we can supply a model set for each branch, and if each adventurer carries a booklet with them, then ruin exploration will become much safer.
You really think so? I mean, yes, I always knew it. Knowledge will always be needed, one way or another.
Making models of contraptions for the Adventurers Guild? To be honest, that sounds like a good avenue to explore to me.
We'll probably have to send in a separate application, but it shouldn't be an issue. After all, this concerns safety during the exploration of ruins. It's a problem that the academia is actually trying to address as well.
Then let's cut to the chase and discuss the details of our first order. The amount we're offering to pay in advance is this much.
I'll be going then. Say hi to Tainari and Anise. We haven't had much time to get to know each other, but she seems like a good kid. She's able to calmly figure out the basic principles behind something without being influenced by others. I'll do my best to teach her over the next few days. Still, how much she learns will really depend on her. Well, her interest lies in the application of mechanisms. I do have some old knowledge to share, but if we think about the future, it's easier for her to learn the things she's interested in if she stays in Kasharawar. My research into mechanisms is, in a sense, a side effect of my research into ancient texts. If she becomes my student to learn how to make modern contraptions, it wouldn't benefit either of us in the long run. However, if she develops an interest in deciphering ancient texts over these next 2 days, that would change things. If I successfully poach a student, those young punks at Haravatat will have one less reason to cut my budget. Perhaps if this collaborative project goes smoothly, I can even ignore Haravatat and ask for a higher budget directly from the academia. Oh, I could come up with lots of ideas. With Anise's help, 2 days will be enough for our work. However, I'm still undecided as to the style of the reference book's text and illustrations. You're right. If no one understands the reference book, it doesn't matter how detailed it is. It's better to make it simpler and fun so that children will be interested in the subject. It'll also make it easier for me to recruit students in the long run. Thank you. I'll take your opinion into account. See you in 2 days.
you're here. We're just starting to set up the venue.
We've called up everyone we possibly could have. This is going to be quite the event.
My masterpiece is going to be exhibited after all. Let's see what the Academia shall say about it this time. And if we activate this little mechanism just like that, a Sumeru rose will appear at the top of the cane.
Oh, I see.
I thought it came out of thin air! It's amazing!
If the mechanism was bigger, you could make a rabbit appear, right?
Then you can't use a cane. Could you switch it out with a hat or something?
You're applying what you learned creatively. Not bad. Let's look at the next page. If you fold an origami bird like this, it'll fly further and more stably.
Whoa. You can make a mechanism using just a piece of paper?
The principles at play are even more important than the parts that make up a mechanism.
These are pretty cool. I'm tempted to try them out.
I'm not that interested in toys, but if they'll be beneficial for children's development...
Everyone, we have paper prototypes and craft materials that you can use to make your own toys. Come try them out.
This is such a well-prepared event. I'll give it a go.
But we want to play too!
It's fine. We have a lot of paper prototypes and craft materials. All feedback is also welcomed.
Oh, my origami bird flew further this time.
Professor Faruzan, how can I make mine fly further?
Ahem. Just Madam will do. Maybe in the future, you may indeed get the chance to call me Professor. You may wish to pay attention to these few details. Here, for example. All right, try it again.
Wow, it really did fly farther!
Madam Faruzan, will we learn origami at the Academia?
Of course you will. If you become a researcher, you can explore any field you like to your heart's content. In the future, if you want, you can even become one of my students.
But Mom and Dad said that there are 6 Darshans in the Academia. Wait, was it 7? Which Darshan teaches about mechanisms in origami?
Well, in this case, it wouldn't be Haravatat.
I know. We need to choose Kasharawar.
Huh?
I want to attend Kasharawar in the future and fold even better origami birds.
I want to make even more awesome mechanisms!
Actually, the other Darshans do have their own specialties, too. For example, Haravatat specializes in... Pay attention, children. Children? How did this happen?
What if we end up in a Darshan we don't like? Does that mean that we won't get to learn about the things we do like?
No, that won't happen. Take me, for example. I'm a researcher from Haravatat, but I research mechanisms, see? The only person able to restrict your curiosity as a researcher is you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Not really.
Huh. It's all right. You still have a long road ahead of you. Now, do you want to learn about some other machines? Let me tell you a story about pressure-based mechanisms and elemental monuments.